This is the 9th video lecture on Lesson 9 from Clayton Croy's A Primer to Biblical Greek. In this lesson, we will introduce the forms for the middle and passive voices of the present indicative. We will discuss the personal agent in the dative of means and have a brief introduction to deponent verbs. Let's begin with a review. We'll recall that there are three faces to the Greek verb. Tense, which indicates the time and the kind of action. Voice, which indicates the relationship between a subject and the action. And mood, which talks about how the action relates to reality. Recall again that the Greek verb, when we talk about voice, this indicates the relationship between the subject and the action. We've already learned about the active voice, which is when the subject performs the verb. In this lecture, we will learn about the passive voice, which is when the subject is acted upon, and the middle voice, which refers to an action that somehow refers back to the subject. Here you'll see the chart for the present middle and the present passive indicative. Now the reason that I've used the slash is that in form, the middle and the passive voice are identical with the present indicative. So only context or the specific verb being used will indicate whether it is middle or passive voice. The forms will look identical. So here is the verb that we've come to see quite often, luo, with the middle and passive indicative. Once again, you can see with the color coding I've provided the stem in that light blue color and the personal endings in that salmon color. So here we go. It's luomai, lue, luetai, luometha, lueste, luontai. And you'll see at the bottom of this slide, the middle passive infinitive of luo is luestai. Again, that stai ending is what we'll be looking for on other verbs. As I mentioned earlier, in the present indicative, verbs in the middle and passive voices are identical in form. The middle voice is when the subject acts with reference to itself, either directly or indirectly. That's how Croy describes it. In other words, the verb refers back to or involves the subject in a particular way. The passive voice, however, is when the subject is acted upon by another. And in Greek, the performer of the verb, the one who is doing the action to the subject, is often indicated by the preposition hupo plus the genitive, which means by, and that's what we call the personal agent, or by the use of the dative case, which is referred to as the impersonal instrument or the impersonal means. So the means by which something is done is indicated by that dative case. Please note that in Croy, there is a significant amount of historical linguistic information. You can know that it's there, but don't worry about memorizing it. You just need to recognize the forms. All right, so let's begin with some examples of passive voice. Didaskometha, hupo, tes, adelphes, hemon. So now we're gonna look at it with those key markers indicated. So the first thing that we see is that metha ending, which indicates a middle passive of the present indicative. And you see that hupo, followed by the genitive case, tes, adelphes, hemon, indicates that personal agent. So a simple sentence would be, we are being taught. I've tried to highlight are being taught as that present progressive passive voice. Who are we being taught by? That's the question for us in terms of identifying the personal agent, or what is indicated by hupo plus the genitive. Well, in the Greek, it's hupo tes adelphes hemon, by our sister. So that would result in a translation, we are being taught by our sister. Here's another example of the passive voice. Ha oikas tu hamartolu luetai lithois. Again, highlighting the distinctive parts of this sentence, including the ending tai, which is a middle passive ending in the third singular, and lithois, which is a dative plural of the word lithos, which means stone. So a basic sentence would be, the house of the sinner is being destroyed. So then we might ask the question, how is the house being destroyed? Or by what means is it being destroyed? Well, the clue comes with lithois, which is in the dative plural, which we would translate by or with stones. And so we would translate the sentence as a whole as, the house of the sinner is being destroyed by or with stones. Now, just a quick note, I haven't given you examples of the middle voice because we will see those in the practice and review exercises, and we will know that they're middle by the definition provided in the vocabulary lists. So I thought that the passive voice was something that we needed to spend a little bit more time getting used to. The middle voice is rare in Greek, and it's something we need to be aware of, but it will again be indicated by the vocabulary words or a dictionary as to how to translate it, how to work with it in context. All right, so deponent verbs. What are deponent verbs? Well, they are verbs that have middle or passive forms, but have an active meaning. That is to say, they do not have active forms. So the active voice is conveyed using the middle and passive forms. These will appear in vocabulary lists with the "o-my" ending, but they have an active meaning. So you'll see them with that middle passive "o-my" ending, but the definition provided will be in the active. And the forms will be those of the middle passive forms. All right, so let's get started with one of the practice review exercises. Number 1, hoi poneroi hamartoloi hutoi ex erchontai eis ton prophetein autoi dunatai sosistai. So the first thing that we do when we look at a sentence like this is we want to at least notice the punctuation. We see that prophetein has a period and that the punctuation mark after sosistai indicates that that second sentence is a question. Next, with a sentence like this, I would want to start by identifying the verbs and analyzing their forms. So there are three verbs in this, three verb forms in these two sentences. First, we have ex erchontai, which has that middle passive ending in the third person plural. Here it's a deponent form because it's from that verb erchomai, which we learned in the vocabulary for this lesson, which means I come or I go. We would parse this as present middle passive indicative third plural or present deponent indicative third plural. The next is dunantai. Again, we see that ntai ending, which indicates that we are in a middle passive voice of the present indicative. And once again, this is a deponent verb from dunamai, which means I am able or I can. And so we would parse this as present middle passive indicative third person plural or present deponent indicative third person plural. And then finally, we have the verb form sosestai, which has the stai ending, which we have just learned in this lesson is the indicator of the passive or middle infinitive. In this case, it's a passive infinitive. And so we would parse this as present passive infinitive. So then a translation would be, these wicked sinners are going out to the prophet. Can they be saved? And so a few things I've underlined the subject, hoi poneroi hamartoloi autoi. It's a long subject, all in the nominative case. Note the use of the near demonstrative hutoi, these, in the nominative plural. And hoi poneroi hamartoloi is just an attributive adjective. So hoi, the evil sinners. And then you add on the near demonstrative, these evil or wicked sinners are are going out to the prophet. And note that ton prophetein is in the accusative case. It's feminine singular accusative. And the reason that it's accusative is because it follows the preposition eis. And then autoi dunantai sosestai is the use of the pronoun autos here in the nominative plural. And it's the subject of the verb dunatai. All right, so that is the end of our lecture on lesson 9. We will continue to see more verb forms and their different voices as we move on, but hopefully this has provided a good overview of the middle and passive voices, the use of the personal agent and dative of means to indicate the person doing the action in the passive voice, and then an introduction to deponent verbs. Thank you.